All right, guys, I'm going to do something wonky here. This is Brian from Turf Mechanic. If you've never seen me, I do wonky things all the time. So what we've got here is a situation I'm going to over-exaggerate. The entire sidewalk strip humps. It's like a mound like this. So what I want to do is pull some of the excess from kind of the middle and the sidewalk area and redeposit it over here. Winter dormancy is just about ready to break around here. Spring weather, even though it's January, spring where I live is really just about ready to start. So I'm going to level a part of my lawn, but it's going to be the sidewalk strip, and I'm not going to bring in sand. I'm going to do something a little bit different, something that almost nobody really ever does, certainly not here on YouTube. I'm going to use an electric dethatcher. Let me show you what I'm going to be working on. I might not get the whole job done this afternoon. It might be a multi-day job, but it's not hard. It's just the fact that I've got like other responsibilities around the house. As I flip around, here's my parkway strip. You can see there's a little teeny bit of dappled green in here. I've really hacked it down. There's a lot of like grass stems. The plan here eventually is to pull a whole ton of cores out of this, like manual cores, sterilize the soil, and start planting new grass seed here. But that's not going to happen for a long time. So I've started experimenting with sterilizing native soil already. I have a video about it. Link in the description below. But before that happens, before any of that happens, I also need to take these sprinklers that are in the ground and I need to redo the sprinkler system here so I have better coverage, and I need to level it. As I get down, you can see just how high everything is off of the sidewalk. So a lot of this, some of this is grass, but I mean that's dirt up, mounded up and over. And then as we get close to the sidewalk or the curb, it is under the curb. So what we've got here is a situation I'm going to over exaggerate. The entire sidewalk strip humps. So what I want to do is pull some of the excess from kind of the middle and the sidewalk area and redeposit it over here, while simultaneously getting rid of many of the stems of the grasses down here so that I don't have as many grass stems sticking up and it's more leaf tissue. So that's basically what we call scalping. I want to scalp those stems off so that new growth comes back and it's only leaf. Good handful of things are going to happen here. And the vast majority of the work is just going to be a dethatcher, an electric scarifier, an electric dethatcher, a power rake, I don't know, whatever the heck you want to call the thing. I will use a leveling rake towards the end of the project, but you could probably get away without using it if you have, I don't know, like just a basic hard tined rake. All right, now if you've never used a power rake before, what you see behind me is a power rake. This is a VonHaus power rake. There are many brands that make these things. Some are probably better than others. This one I like a lot. I've owned two others. This is the one that I like the most so far. I suppose I'll link to it in the description below, but that's not the point of this video. What I like about this is that I can put on hard scarifier blades, kind of like little knives that cut into the ground. So underneath this thing, let me flip it over. There we go. So underneath this thing, there are these hard tines. Now you can do, I can change this out to be a flexible kind of tine system, but these things are almost like little knives. And when I turn this thing on, it starts spinning like vigorously, like super duper fast. And if you look at it, get the angle right here. See the wheels are on the ground, but the tines are sticking out below the wheels, which means that they are cutting into the ground. And if you don't have much grass up, so like if you cut it really short, pretty much all you're doing is ripping dirt off of that top like ½ inch and you're loosening it up. So all of the top ½ inch or so of dirt is going to get loosened up and picked up off the ground. Now I could stick a bag on this and catch the dirt or catch the thatch or the lawn debris that you're trying to pick up, but in this case I'm literally trying to score the ground, loosen up that upper layer of dirt so that I can redistribute it, move it around. The plan is to go take this over to my parkway strip and rip to shreds the middle of the hump, probably from the sidewalk to about the middle, to get as much loose dirt as I possibly can. And then once I have a ton of loose dirt available,
I'm gonna feel it.
you know, feel it?
Oh,
Does it feel fluffy?
yeah.
Feels nice, huh? Native soil, man. I gotta get my leveling rake and push it around a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and use my leveling rake to push the dirt into the lower spots. Now for me, that is almost 100% right here along the curb line. I mean, you can see it. It really goes down right there. There's also a little depressed spot underneath the bottom of a road sign, down here under the fire hydrant, and then sporadically through this area there are some low spots. This is the most notable of the low spots of them all right here. This thing darn near feels like a sinkhole. You just drop down. Probably, I'd call that like 4 inches or so. It's a big depression. So a lot of the excess soil and things that I score are going to go into this hole and along the lines. And hopefully the whole thing will be significantly flatter when I'm done. After I get the job done, it's going to look genuinely terrible. Like the grass is going to look horrible, but that's generally what happens anytime you level the lawn, no matter how you do it. If you're going to go through the trouble of scalping your lawn down as short as possible and then leveling it with sand like a lot of people do, the lawn looks pretty bad for a couple weeks. Like, it just looks bad, and that's going to happen here. But as most people know, to fix anything, you got to make a big old mess. So within a couple weeks after this whole process, it's gonna look pretty awesome. So you got to keep your eye on the price. Doing a little work on the strip here. What do you think?
Cool. What did you do?
I'm just kind of making a mess, that's all.
Why?
Does it look good, or does it just look like a mess?
This looks like a mess.
Yeah, it always starts out looking like a mess.
Yeah. What are you gonna do to it?
Well, I ran the Dethatcher over it to scuff up the ground, and then I pushed the dirt that way and into that hole right in front of you. So I'm gonna do it again a couple times, and the whole thing's gonna be just a little bit flatter. You know, in the long run, it'll be flatter.
Yeah. Like,
Right now, it just looks like a mess.
flatter in a while, but right now it's just a mess.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Welcome home from school.
Yay.
All right, this little hole in the ground, somewhere around in there, a lot of that is dirt, but there's a lot of grass, debris, kind of root systems that I pushed in there. That's going to settle down, and it is not going to be flat, but it is going to be flatter. And most likely what's going to happen is I'm going to do the whole rest of the strip. I'm going to get off camera and finish the rest of it here. But most likely in another week or two, or 3, depending on, I'm going to end up doing this whole thing again. Because I don't want to kill off all of the grass. If I just keep ripping and ripping and ripping, a lot of this grass is going to die off. I'm definitely stressing it out, but it's actually going to spur additional growth. And as this spot depresses down, it kind of settles down a little bit. Once I come back to do it again, it's just going to get flatter and flatter and flatter. I'll go ahead and show you the after shot after this whole thing is done. It's most likely going to be tomorrow. We're going to step inside and do some things with the kids. I'll finish up everything tomorrow. I'm going to give it about a week or so, and then I'm going to give you a full after shot of everything after all of the dirt has settled and the grass has started coming back a little bit. All right, 13 days has passed since I did all of that work that you saw earlier in the video. And as you can see, the grass is growing back in. It's growing in a little bit slow because it's January. It's January. This is the middle of winter. So you can't expect this stuff to grow in fast. Nevertheless, I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the progress made so far. Like I said earlier in the video, I'm going to do this one, maybe two more times in the month of February before spring actually hits. I'm not going to film all of that because it's irrelevant. It's just the same stuff. By the time March happens, we're still talking, and that's like late winter. Everything's going to be even more flat than it is right now. And then later in spring, that's when the full renovation of this area is going to happen. But at least I'll be starting from a flat scenario. Take a look. So you see, especially this is a camera trick. You see how it's all green over there, but it doesn't look green here? That's because the angle. So the angle over there is wide. This is a camera trick. As I come down, it looks more dirt-like. But if I were to bring the camera down, more and more starts looking green. If I come up, the green really starts, I don't know, it's a camera trick. It's not purposeful, but I want you to understand. So as we get down here, see all of these stems, they're still loose. Some of these stems aren't even connected to the ground at all. But we've got a lot of, see how this is a perfect example right here. See this green? Everything from the dirt up is green now. Before I did any of this, a lot of this was like, you know, is green here, but the stem was brown. So that's why, that's one of the reasons why you run this the scarifier over the whole situation. But to discuss leveling, we still got some elevation here. Parts of the sidewalk strip have more elevation change than others. Some parts are actually not high at all. Let me show you. See the elevation change here, this is like flush. Like there's not really a lift at all. And at this point, the lift here is almost zero. Now, not all of the sidewalk is that nice, but more of it is. And then if I take a look at the curb, here's a nice section of the curb. Everything is just right there. There's a little tiny bit of a lip going down, like right there. If I could squash it down with my finger. But having done this one time, everything is just better here. Like I said, I'm going to do this one or two more times in the month of February before spring ever comes. And by the end of March, going into the 1st of April, the true start of spring, this whole sidewalk strip should have way less of that humping action and quite a bit more of that flat action from sidewalk to curb. Now, this is a not normal lawn leveling project. I did a pretty significant lawn leveling project on my last yard at the last house that I lived at. I'm gonna link to it up here. I made a bunch of mistakes doing it. This one, I didn't want to make mistakes, so I didn't bring in sand. Take a look at this video to see all of the mistakes that I made that are very common. Many people will make these mistakes. So if you want to level a larger lawn area in a more conventional way, then please watch this first, because if you do make these mistakes, you can have some problems, just like I did.